Hi everybody, it's Marcus Collins and special guest this evening.
Hello, this is Yuki.
Yuki Wang's joined us to do another Buyer's Masterclass. Smart strategies to succeed in today's competitive, and I think after your experience today, Yuki would agree it's a very competitive environment.
Very.
And more on that in a minute. But so why do we do these seminars? That's the first question, I guess. So it's really important. Buying a home. It's a lot going on. You really can't leave it to chance. So we really do need you, the buyer out there, to be aware of everything that it takes to buy a home, all of the strategies we can use in this very competitive environment. So this evening we're going to cover a whole raft of things. We're going to talk about smart decisions. We're going to talk a little bit about the market and certainly where you can go to get additional information on the market. The process of buying a home. How you actually go about it, smart buying if you will, what are the right strategies you can use to find the home that works for you and to compete. Smart search, there's potentially, not at the moment, there's almost nothing on the market at the moment.
No.
But it's easy to search today with so few homes. But as the year progresses, so we will see more homes coming on. So how do you find that needle in a haystack? We'll do a quick overview of the offer process. Just to get an overview of the major steps within that. And then we'll finish off with some anecdotes about buying during COVID and buying as we lead out of COVID, I guess. So that's kind of what we're going to cover in this masterclass.
Yep.
So smart decisions, quick overview of what's going on in the market. First off, I want to give a shout out to a Lexington and an Arlington market review. There we go. We do these every year, cram-packed full of stats of what's going on the market for those two towns. We don't do it for all the towns out there because they're quite a lot of work to do.
I agree.
But we have a lot of information on our website. So there's lots of information in the market reviews on our website as well. If you need a copy, if you're looking specifically in either of those two towns, then feel free to reach out to us and we can get your copy. Otherwise, go on our website, you can see the market review or you can see the stats that there is. But how about a quick overview of 2020 and then we'll kind of get our crystal ball out and see what 2021 brings. Because when we're recording this, we're in kind of mid-March timeframe, so we have some insight, although we'd hoped, I think we would have more. But interestingly, even though we were in the middle of a pandemic almost a year ago, actually, lockdown was about March, right? It was almost 12 months ago. We saw a similar number of sellers in the market in 2020 as we did in 2019. Slight shift in when they came on, but ultimately the same number. What we did see though was an increasing number of buyers in the market. Buyers looking now to move perhaps out of a condominium into a single family, shifting their criteria. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But we definitely saw more buyers in the market than we anticipated. Because if you remember back to the end of 2019, there was discussion about an economic downturn, a little bit of reticence, a little bit of slowness in the buyer market. But along comes COVID and that changed completely. So we really did shift from what we thought would be a softening seller's market in 2020, very much into a seller's market. And we saw positive price appreciation. The only slight caveat to this, and it's only a slight one, was the condo market, where we did see a lot of condos coming on at the end of the year in the fall market, and that did lead to a little bit of a slowdown with some buyers being somewhat reticent about moving into shared space given COVID. So on the other hand, condominiums do tend to be somewhat cheaper than single family, so they were torn a little bit. Do you worry about the shared space, but on the other hand, it's more affordable. So, but that did upset the market just a little.
Buyers looking for more privacy, for sure.
That's definitely the case. So big picture, we're still not out of where we are. We are slowly pulling out of it, but certainly that looks to be 6 months away, perhaps. I think once we get perhaps into the fall market, things will have got back to normal. It's kind of a work in progress, clearly. But right now, we're not quite there. But overall, even with the pandemic, as I just said, the Massachusetts housing market performed really, really well. So we oughtn't to be too worried about the housing market no matter what happens this year. Predictions. Hard to do early in the year, of course. But it looks like, if you think last year, if you look at it from a seller's and a buyer's perspective, last year Same number of sellers in the market in general that we saw in previous years. So COVID didn't really upset that very much. So it's likely that this year we will see a similar number of sellers as we saw in 2020 and in 2019. Now, having said that, at the moment there's very, very low inventory. And so it appears, and we'll know more as time goes on, that the homes are not coming on as early as they did last year. And we anticipate we will see more homes coming on in that April, May, June timeframe. So for those buyers out there looking at very low inventory levels, hang in there. It will get better. It always does.
Real? Guarantee?
Guarantee?
Yeah,
But you can guarantee. Yeah, I think we can. Because
once the vaccine is out. Yeah.
right, last year we saw the same number, so why would this year be any different? So that's the logic around that. In terms of the number of buyers, I think there's more buyers. I think it is more competitive this year.
More than
last year
Yeah.
and before. And just an anecdotal, as we're recording this, we've just reviewed offers on a home in Lexington, and there were 34 offers on a home priced at 1.3 million.
34 and
34.
Over 130 more private showings, right?
Right, absolutely.
It's
You
crazy.
almost couldn't make any more private showings this weekend. They were
Yeah.
chock-a-block all the way through. So the
Yeah.
buyers are adding force. Challenge at the moment is there's a lack of inventory, but as the year progresses, so that will begin to change.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed on that one. All right, so let's move on to the buying process. How do you determine what exactly you're looking for? And I'm going to hand over to Yuki to kind of talk us through where we are.
Sure.
So how do I find out, how does a potential buyer kind of try to understand?
Well, when I first get a call from buyer or message looking for a home to buy, the first question I would ask is what's their motivation, like why they're buying a condo, a home, or
Right.
Basically they're down to three elements. The first one is commute. They want to close to work. They want to close to a good school system, or they want to close to a public transportation. And also if they have family or they plan to have a family in the near future, so they will consider a good school system or excellent school system. Or if they're downsider, like empty nesters, they don't care about the school system. I still kind of guide them through even a regular school town that have potential appreciation of house value down the road. So it doesn't have to be a good school system for the empty nesters or downsider, but it has to be a good, desirable neighborhood in the future to increase the house value.
Right. Yep.
So, and also the third element is affordability. How much they can borrow, or how much are they comfortable putting down if they have cash buyers. Yeah.
And I think schools are always a given.
Yes.
That never changes, I think.
No.
Even with COVID.
No.
It's always the focus is on the schools.
Yes.
The commute is kind of a little bit variable, I
Yeah,
think.
especially with the new normal, you don't have to work 5 days a week.
Right.
So you can go to a place that you can go, if you work in Boston, close to public transportation like commuter rail, you can walk like 2 days a week. Some buyers do that. Then they don't have to be like 10 minutes drive to Boston. They can be like an hour commute to, a public transportation with, so the commute definitely changes over COVID. So.
And I think the affordability, if you think about, read that as what you can buy for your money, a shift into buyers today would prefer a slightly larger home.
Yes. So some of my buyers, they don't know, they don't know any specific town they're looking for, but they have a fixed amount of budget. So I will go through, what kind of house they can afford in different town, outbound, going outward, to see like which one you are more comfortable. That's tick more boxes.
Right.
Then we can go from
Yeah, makes sense. So a kind of slight shift then in how big a house they want. COVID did that. I mean, the children will go back to school soon, next month, as we're recording this in March.
Yeah.
But there's still that requirement for one, maybe two offices coming in. So looking for a slightly larger home. So that's kind of shifting a little bit.
Yes.
Needs versus wants, if I can say it.
Okay. A lot of buyers, especially first home buyers, they don't know what they need. They will think, their wants is all their needs.
Right.
But actually, once they start searching, they know there's no perfect home. They have to start narrow down what they absolutely have to have. Then rest is maybe you can move in first, then start, a down couple years later, change here, change there. So yeah, you have to know what you must have, like a location. If you know you're looking for a good school system, absolutely good school towns that has good system.
Right.
And also the commute. If you know you're going to Boston 5 days a week, commute is a key too. And also if you have 3 kids, then you probably need 4 bedrooms at the minimum. And bathroom too, so multiple bathroom. And the office is a new trend now. It's a new desire for the buyers that because COVID, everybody needs an office at home. So office could be a must. But sometimes if you couldn't find the house with office, but you see unfinished basement, that could be a want down the road. Then
Right.
So you can finish later. Yeah, and also you have to be realistic.
Yeah, which unfortunately buyers have to be realistic.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah,
especially
sorry about
in this
that.
competitive market, to be realistic that you keep all your must, but there's some that you can wiggle around to
Right.
be your wants.
Yeah, that's true.
And also who is paying the down payment and who's helping you financially. So you have to include all the decision makers up front. Especially I have the client that their parents is supporting overseas. They will transfer the down payment. You have to discuss, keep them on the page. Down the road.
Yep.
And also, sometimes I see the kids will do the FaceTime or video recording with their parents in China to see if they like,
Right.
So just keep everybody on the same page.
Yeah, otherwise we get to the crux point of writing that offer.
Then you realize, one of the decision makers didn't like it.
Right.
So,
Yes.
you miss opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Budget, clearly important in this market.
Yes.
How should they go about doing that?
So usually when you are looking for a home, then I strongly recommend, actually suggest you to get a pre-approval letter from a lender. The lender you work with, you comfortably work with before, or we can refer a couple, confident, reliable lenders to you locally, so they will understand the market better and they will do the pre-approval more, accurate.
Yep, accurately.
Yes.
Yep.
Then also, it's also pretty much the requirement to submit offer nowadays that you must have either cash buyer with a bank statement or the mortgage financing with a pre-approval letter. And what's the difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification is the pre-qualification is basically you just take a quick phone call with the lender or mortgage broker. You go through the some key criteria that they will quickly decide how much you can loan. But that doesn't guarantee you,
Right, it doesn't guarantee that amount.
Yes.
Not that accurate, if that's right.
Not as accurate as pre-approval, because pre-approval you have to provide, you have to fill up the form online, you have to provide all the financial statement that is more, puts more weight when you submit an offer.
Right.
Yeah. So,
And more certainty to the buyers, I always think too.
yes. You're more confident how much
Right.
you're more
Yep.
predictable, I could say.
Yep.
Yep. And also you have to set your parameters, because when you say if you pre-approve for $1 million house, you don't want to spend the whole $1 million house. You don't want to search a house at around $990K just to $995 just to meet that the maximum pre-approval amount. Especially in this competitive market, you want to have some wiggle room. So when you search for home, you want to start a little bit lower. That have a negotiation, and sometimes you have to remove the appraisal contingency. That
I heard that exact same comment from an agent today, another agent in the team, who said, I'm advising my buyers to be more conservative of the homes they look at, just because it's so competitive.
Yep,
Right,
Just
that's for
have
sure.
some cushions to start with. And when the offer accepted, you have a period of time before you sign PNS agreement, so you can shop around for lenders that has best rate and best terms.
Cool.
Yep.
And no obligation to use the lender who issued
Yeah.
the pre-approval.
Yep.
That's always a question people have. The lenders clearly would like them to use you. That's, they would like that, but there's no obligation.
You can still, feel comfortable shop around with couple quotes to decide.
The other thing around a pre-approval or pre-qualification, your pre-approval amount, you don't have to spend that amount of money either.
No.
We often get the situation where somebody is pre-approved for a large number, but doesn't feel comfortable spending that. So feel free to scale that back.
Yep.
You clearly can't go over it. That's worth remembering. But feel free to scale that back. So look at that pre-approval. Decide, if it's for 800, but I only want to spend 7 because that's the most.
Correct.
I want to be able to go out for dinner when we're allowed to go out for dinner pretty soon, hopefully. So you feel free to close that, scale that one back somewhat. So 2 reasons to kind of look for homes that aren't necessarily at your highest point. Maybe you want to scale it back and give yourself, as you said, and as Wenjen said today, give you some cushion, given the competitive environment we're in.
And also if you pre-approve higher than what you actually offer, that only helps you to show the seller your financial strong.
Right. Yeah. Shows them how strong you are.
Yeah, and also consider cost of owning versus renting. Some of my buyers are renters, so they want to get out the city. They want to start buying a single family, share less with other people. But because they say their rental price is so high, they can pay a mortgage through that rental. So if you own a house, you're basically renting for yourself.
Right.
So
yes.
But other buyers, they actually consider moving to different city in next couple years, like a year or 2. So I wouldn't recommend you buy a house in such a high
competitive environment,
especially. So you have to compare all the weighing your own situations.
Absolutely. The buyer's agent.
Okay. Yes.
What is the role of because the reason we put these slides in is there's some confusion, and we'll talk about the listing agent in a minute, but there's some huge confusion about what the role of the buyer's agent is.
Well, it's obvious, no-brainer. The buyer's agent serves the best interest for the buyer and the buyer only. Right. Yeah. So we will get the best, the best price or terms and condition for you. So I have a couple cases. I don't really get my buyer's offer accepted not because we are the highest offer, because we also have the best terms and conditions for the seller. So pretty much every single offer I submitted, I talked with the seller agent as much I could, like what the seller wants, and what can we help with the seller to sell comfortably without hurting my buyers. So it's not only about the price. And also, that's what we're talking about: wisdom, experience, and advice to your purchase. True.
I guess in today's term, in terms of the offer, you would call it the package.
Yeah.
It's everything, right? And increasingly, those terms and conditions are almost as important as the price. Yeah,
especially the buyer agent working actively on the field every single weekend, alpha showings and competing with others. Yes, so we're experienced. And also I will educate the buyers about the local, real estate market. I would strongly recommend you visit our website, maproperties.com. That especially the statistics, because we are a data-driven company, so you will see a lot of data with different town, with what's a popular price range for that town. Most likely, that price range will get competing offers with others. Also, managing the offer. Once the offer is accepted, you're not done yet. I'm still here to help you, like for the inspection and also the PNS and through the clothing. So, and also the great resource. So the local market, local agent for that market is the key, right? So we know the specific areas for instance, Lexington. There were like 23 different areas in Lexington that we collect the data each area each year that the price is comfortable in that area. So a local agent is the key. And also we know the market trends. We have listings locally, so we know how do I say this? The market trends. So the price goes up, appreciate a certain rate in certain area, and or the certain condition, the housing stock. The inventory is low for now, so I can't say much about that.
No, you're right. The housing stock, there's almost nothing. So
the contractors, definitely contractors, it's a plus from local agent referral, because the contractor charge you by the distance. If they drive far, they will charge you that too, hourly. So the contractor, you definitely need it from local agent. And gets a fee from the commission paid to the listing company by the seller. So the buyer agent, we don't charge you. So the seller charges us. So if you go to an open house, which is, we're going to talk about that next.
You want to talk about the listing agent? You want to do the...
Yeah, so let's finish the buyer agent part.
Okay.
So if we go to an open house, oftentimes that the buyer will come to me if I'm the listing agent. They will say, can I get a discount because I have no agent, represents me? But I said no, because first of all, I represent the seller. Second, the commission fee is already contracted in the, it's already
It's already
fixed.
agreed.
Yep.
So you're the listing agent now. What is
I'm a
your
listing
role
agent
as
now,
the
so I have
listing
to
agent?
change my hat.
Change your hats. That's exactly
I'm
right.
a listing agent now. Okay. Yes. Again, I have to help my seller to get the best price, terms, and conditions. Like some buyers, they just want to move out quick. So the time is the key. So the closing time, the sooner the better. If the top two offers are not much difference, and also. What if you buy through the listing agent? Yes. So
you mentioned that before.
Yep, I just mentioned that.
You always get that question when you're at an open house as
Yeah.
a listing agent.
So if I have a buyer come to my open house, which I have a listing this weekend, I'm sorry, I don't represent you. So I represent the seller. Of course, I want the highest price you could offer. I'm only the facilitator for you. I only pass the transaction to the seller, but I serve the seller's best interests. And it's, again, the commission is already contracted in the agreement. So, and also there's a conflict of interest for the listing agent. I'm serving the seller. So then I don't know you. You just came to the open house. You want to submit an offer, but if I don't know you, what you really want, I can't meet your needs. Right. Not talking about wants.
I think that's the key one, right?
Yeah. Yep. Not talking about wants yet. Just the needs alone, I can't meet.
Yep.
And also, don't give you confidence you're buying the right home. Yes, I don't know if you're comfortable buying this home because I don't know you.
Right.
I serve the seller, and I by going through the selling process preparation with the seller, I understand seller more, but. Again, I don't know you.
Right,
Yeah,
it's very difficult. And remember, you're buying a very expensive product here.
Big commitment.
Yeah,
it's a huge
Right. And so working with a buyer's agent, I mean, it's kind of the next slide. Working with a buyer's agent, really the combination of the buyer and their trusted advisor, the buyer's agent, that's what will make them successful ultimately in this market.
Right.
You have to understand what they want.
Yep.
Because we're just as likely, and you must have done it many times, Yuki, to recommend a buyer not buy a home because
many times,
it fits my needs. And well, no, it doesn't actually. What you told me before was, and so really the combination of the buyer and the buyer's agent, I think, is key in this environment to be successful.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to the buyer if they're like, usually buying a house is quite impulsive and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So if they fall in love with the house, they absolutely want it. And I see, like, I stay back, be more rational, tell them the couple of drawbacks.
Yep.
It's hard to say no to them, and also you potentially will lose a buyer.
Right.
Yeah, luckily I kept them also. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but you have to do what you need to do, because if it doesn't fit them, you have to point out what's your concern, and with all factor in. Then if they decide they still want to pursue, then go ahead.
Right, that's good. What you said was absolutely right. Yeah. Buying a home, one of the agents that he will call it a visceral feel. You walk in and you go, I like this house.
Yeah.
Then it requires the buyer agent say, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Let's just go down those needs.
Yep.
And maybe some of the wants. Does it actually fit your requirements? So that's kind of key in that case.
Right.
Smart buying. We like this section because two strategies here to be successful in this market.
Correct. Especially in 2021, you have to be smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Yep. So what do today's buyers want? So I have basically two type of buyer. The buyer that not very handy, or they're like handful of either kids or their work. They want to buy a home moving ready. So they want more like either new construction or fix upper, or do a good amount of renovation inside. So that's this type of buyer. I have another buyers that are quite handy, regardless first home buyers or second home or multiple home buyers. Mm-hmm. They're quite handy. They know their hands-on skill is pretty good, and they see the potential of the home. So they're willing to buy fix upper and fix down the road. So and when as a buyer agent, when I go to buy the fix upper with my buyer, we expect a discount.
Indeed.
Yeah, if it's not upgraded.
Right.
So as a seller agent, I will say do this to save the money, but as a buyer agent, I will say opposite, just buy this to save money.
Right. There's
Yes.
kind of there's a juxtaposition depending.
Yes.
Tonight's the buyer's masterclass. We say entirely the opposite with this when
Yep.
we're doing a seller's masterclass.
Yep.
So strategy 1, take on the competition.
Take on the competition. So yes, so if you want moving ready, which with today's market, with the interest rate, which is great, if you put down, say, 100K out of pocket right now, you probably will loan 300K for 30 years strength. So if I will explain to the numbers with my buyer that they're comfortable with 300K more to buy moving ready, then let's go for it.
Yep.
So we will probably do like 200K with 100K more after asking. So that's our strategy. So just get comfortable. I will give you lots of heads up what's going to happen. You know, once you have competitive offer, maybe bidding war definitely will happen for highly desirable homes, especially this year, early this year.
Yeah.
And also, I will just leverage my experience and expertise to help you out.
And so we described before. Do you know how many offers on the house in Acton this week?
This weekend, the one I just one
Yep.
offer accepted, that was close to 10 offers.
10 offers.
Yes,
The
easily. It was actually pretty old condition, so
Right.
yeah. But yeah,
That's
already.
exactly the example
Yep.
that we gave here in Lexington. 34 offers.
Yep.
This is strategy number 1. Both those homes were move-in ready. They were
Yeah.
not fixer-uppers.
Yeah.
And that's why they found the buyers found themselves in this bidding war because of that highly desirable home.
But they're ready because I keep educating them. This is what's going to happen. This is the seller will come back to
Right.
us. Then let's just be prepared. So when they actually do get a call from the seller agent, they said, okay, let's move to next step.
Right. Yep. Strategy 2, the fixer-upper.
Ooh, this is the fun part because my background is electrical engineer. I'm a problem solver. I like to fix things.
Okay, right.
So yes, so we've seen many houses than you. I'm sure, I guarantee. So when you see a house, you don't see the potential. But as a seller agent, we also help seller to prepare. We design to sell. So we help a seller to design. I will show the same thing to you as a buyer, what you could do to make the home more like improvement and adds more equity to your home.
Yeah.
So as long as it meet your fundamentals, like 3 key factors, your commute or location, a good flow, the good layout, then go for it. Like if it's just a painting or wiping out wallpaper, or we can paint nowadays with technology. You can paint not only the wall, you can paint the cabinets, you can paint the tiles, you can even paint, so a lot of things you can paint. So if that's easy to do, so let's go with, the fix-upper.
The more of a picture and less competition. That's the key.
Yep.
Less competition, less bidding war equals higher price
Yep.
at the end of it, almost.
Yeah, it definitely will increase your equity.
Right.
Yeah.
We like this section because we do before and afters.
Ooh, this is the
Look
fun
at that
part.
one.
Yep.
That's clearly a fixer-upper.
Yep. You can see this house is sad.
Right.
Yep.
Needs some love, as
Yep.
another Asian auntie Rachel would say. It needs love. Needs
Yep.
some love.
Needs a little love. Yeah.
So here's the after.
Voila. So you don't do much. You just basically declutter and paint and maybe polish the floor. That's it.
That's all was done there.
Yep.
Wallpaper was
Wow.
taken down. The drapes were taken down too. Of course, that's easy.
Yep. Good
Painted.
flow.
Yep.
Yep.
Painted. So
Lighting.
perfect example.
Yep.
Here's another one.
Okay.
Again,
Ooh.
needs some love.
Yep.
There we
This
go.
looks nice. I mean, a lot of people talking about stainless steel kitchen appliances is a must, but if you're budget tight and if you find this house is in a great location and a great layout, go for it. You can always change this easily down the road.
Yep. Wait for the tax-free weekend in August
Yes.
sometime and change them at that point.
Yep.
So easy to do. But all that's been done there is you see the floor is exactly the same. The
Even
appliances.
even the lighting fixture. Yeah.
Yep. They didn't paint the lighting fixture.
Nice.
But basically paint the cabinets. That's all it was.
Wow.
And actually, you had exactly the same example here.
Yeah.
In this case, I think they changed the floor, they painted the cabinets, and that's about it.
Yeah. This is definitely after the painting. It's well functioned.
Yep.
Kitchen. So I feel comfortable living for maybe 3 or 5 years. If I have younger kids, at least I have a functional home that has a good flow and can meet my needs first. And once kids are a little bit older, and I can focus on doing myself or hire somebody.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the key. Don't see this as I'm moving in this state. I'm going to paint it, and I'm there forever. No, I mean the whole idea here is wait, 3-5 years, whatever
Yeah,
it
you
is.
don't have to do it right away,
Right.
like bigger project right away. Yeah.
Yep. Wait till your budget allows. Wait till your time allows. Whatever it is, at that point, do it.
Yeah, the right picture I will tell to my seller what I will suggest to my seller, but the left picture I will suggest to my buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can transition to the right.
Right.
Yeah.
Either way, buyer or seller does it.
Yeah.
In this case, if the buyer does it, then the buyer gets the equity.
Correct.
If the seller does it, the seller gets the equity.
Correct.
You mentioned painting tiles, and
yeah,
there's an
this
example
is a good
here.
example. Yep.
Right.
You can see it's much brighter and fresher. Yep. So I could see myself living inside. Yeah, just using it comfortably.
It's a small bathroom, but at the end of the day, it's functional,
Yep.
and then over time you can go and update it.
Correct.
Same example here. Here they painted the cabinet as well.
Yeah.
You can see the cabinet, the wall, the tiles, and the walls were painted, and all of a sudden, what looks, I couldn't possibly
Uplifting.
I couldn't possibly live with that bathroom. But now look at.
Well, even the cabinet is painted, right?
Yep. Even the cabinet was painted in this case.
Okay. Nice. Wow, this one is this.
That's
nice.
a huge difference.
Yes. Yes. And
paint.
the floor was like a vinyl floor,
Right. So.
but looked like luxury style vinyl.
Yeah,
floor.
LVT, yes. Luxury
Yeah.
vinyl tiles, it's called. Relatively unaffordable. The
Yep.
horrible carpet was taken up, the walls were painted, and new flooring was put down. Look at the difference between
Yeah,
those.
just the same sunlight. It already looks different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It looks totally different. Those two rooms look you would swear if you weren't looking at the sort of same angle, they were different rooms, but,
Yep.
but they clearly are. So a lot can be done inside. A lot can be done outside too. There's a long story about this house. It was on the market for I think about 2 years, not selling in
2
this
years?
state. Yes, long time. But then look what some exterior paint did.
Wow. Okay. Good job.
That plum color around the windows, that's gone.
Yep.
The garage doors have been repainted. The scraggly trees either side of the front door were taken out, and new house. And the picture on the right, that home sold with competing offers.
It looks much brighter.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Wow.
The trees are completely overgrown. I mean, there's a door. There's an entrance here. You just can't see it.
This reminds me of the COVID, like the people's mustache behind the mask.
Right,
You'll see, like,
yeah.
they're
Everything
poking
behind
out.
the mask, right?
Yeah, the beard.
What it did though was made the house very dark.
Yeah, I think especially in New England, you get like 5-6 months of winter each year. You need that vitamin D. So by simply taking out the trees, you bring not only exteriorly appealing and also interiorly brighter.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's well done.
You get both. So the outside looks much better, and in concert with that, the inside looks much brighter too. No surprising, the house on the left didn't sell. The house on the right did sell.
Yeah, so the first appeal, the curb appeal and first impression is the key.
Right.
And buying houses like falling in love on first sight.
Yep. When you walk in.
Correct.
And you can just see the effect of all those trees, and so dark in the house. So relatively easy. Nothing we've shown you here there's nothing structural.
No.
We didn't take walls down. We didn't completely redo a kitchen. All of it really was paint. Number one, refinishing some floors if there was some carpet down, tidy up, remove the clutter.
No structural engineers involved.
Nothing whatsoever.
Yeah,
All of that could have been done by a homeowner too.
Yep.
So big difference between those two, and a big difference in strategy as well. Compete with the 10 offers like you had in Acton today, or less competition, or maybe even no competition if the house needs some love, as it were.
Yep.
So that's the key.
If you see the potential and other people doesn't see it,
That's the key.
which you're educated by the buyer agent.
There we go. Absolutely.
Then go for it.
Yep. The key is to have the fundamentals. We can't paint around a poor floor plan.
Right.
Clearly, we can't do that.
The
so
flow.
the flow, the fundamentals have to be right.
Location.
Paint's not going to cover a busy street. So you got to get the fundamentals right, and then paint just kind of converts a home which has got good bones, if you like, into something that you can definitely live in. So we like those before and afters. We thought we'd show you some of those just to see the big difference between those. So easy today because there's almost no inventory, but there will be more inventory, and then you need to be smarter about how you do that search.
I think right now it's a good time to prepare, because once a couple months down the road, all the inventory are picking up. that will be a real haystack.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So engage a buyer. Also, buyer. Best practice. So engage a buyer. Buyer's agent. So that's for sure. When you start going out to see homes, then you definitely need the buyer's agent's help, especially locally, which already discussed your minimum needs and the must-haves or would likes, and also the price point based on the pre-approval.
Yep.
So again, you get your pre-approval from your lender or the lender a couple lenders we can refer to, and also talking about the search strategy. So right now it's still inventory. While the inventory is still low, we can narrow down to the towns you would like to check out. So we will probably, I would suggest you go with the budget first, and you want a good school system. So we can try different towns within your budget. Then once you drive by the neighborhood to see the, what's on the market, or maybe the sold house price range in that town that you feel comfortable with, and you drive around, see if you like it. Then once you know you couldn't get what you needed in this town, maybe we can go out a little bit. Still, if you want to close to public transportation, you still go through the commuter rail line to see more homes. Then ideally,
well, the idea here is that you go broad initially.
Correct. Sorry.
Yeah, go broad initially and then narrow it down as you kind of whittle down those towns, and I like the town or I don't. Kind of drop them off. That's the key.
Right. So while the inventory is still low, yeah.
While it's low, I often describe to the buyers, go out. It says attend open houses. They will come back, but go out and look at houses or look at towns with your hands in your pocket. You're window shopping at this point. Correct. You're just trying to decide, and as it says here, decide which of those 1 to 3 towns meet your criteria. You can buy the house that you want. Right. That's the key. And then having whittled it down to a manageable number of towns, then you can have the agent evaluate homes with you.
Yeah, manageable is important, because once the inventory is picking up, you're still shopping around, you're still wasn't sure what you exactly wanted, you're gonna get overwhelmed. Yeah. So ideally you choose 1 to 3 towns. Now you already done the homework up front, and you absolutely want these 3 towns. And once inventory is picking up, you just go for it. Yep. That's
the key. And we have example after example of people who've done that.
Yep.
They kind of narrowed it down, and then as soon as homes start coming on, yes, I know.
Yeah, and also we will evaluate the homes you like and with you upfront. So before open houses, right?
Right.
So,
and I think this is one of the changes we've seen with COVID. Everybody knows how to Zoom today.
Yes.
I was talking to a client in Germany just last night, talking through the stats, looking at homes that were coming on the market. Being the ability to do that before you even go into a home it's allowed everybody to do that. We could always do it before, we just didn't do it. But now everybody's so familiar with Zoom and that.
Yeah, we use all the online tools possible, like Google Maps and 3D tours and virtual tours the seller offers. And just do all the homework you could. If it's on the busy street, pass. If the master bedroom is on the first floor, you don't want it, pass. Right. So some buyers want master bedroom on the first floor because they have knee problems. So it's just we can do a lot of homework, beforehand. Then if you absolutely check most of the box, let's go for private showings. Yeah.
That's the key. That is the whole key. What we wanted to show you was a way of, exactly as Yuki was saying, about what you would do beforehand in terms of bringing houses in and excluding, or bringing towns in, and towns out, using the technology we've got. And so sales distribution, I always think, is a nice tool because it's kind of easy. This is the sales distribution for Arlington. Imagine you've got 700,000, I put my cursor there.
Right.
That's a lot of homes to choose from in any given year. If I juxtaposition that with the next town out, which is Lexington,
much less. Then
much less.
You're not only competing with buyers, you're also competing with the builders.
The builders as well.
Yeah,
and a lot less.
Cash buyer builders, because it's much less.
27 in, for example, if you pick that 700 range in Lexington, 72 that range in Arlington.
Correct.
So you might include both towns.
Yep.
But if you're just stuck on Lexington in this example, it's going to be a tough buy because there are so few. You're right, competing with builders,
Yeah.
competing with other buyers for only 27 sales in a year. It's going to be a tough
It'll be
buy.
very stressful.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of expand that search if you're in a town where you see that. Conversely, imagine you had 2 million to spend. Perhaps Arlington's the wrong town to be looking at. You may decide you want it, but it's you're going to be almost the most expensive home in town.
Right.
Compare that, of course, to Lexington, which has got a higher average price point, and
And
now
a better option too. So.
right. So you can bring towns in, irrespective of your price point, you can bring towns in or exclude towns easily using this data.
That's right. And also, we're not only limited to these 2 towns. We have 50 more towns.
Yeah, we
on
do.
our
We have a lot of
website.
towns to choose
Yeah,
from.
you can just
Yep.
surf around and have fun to play with those data. Yeah,
And distribution's a good one to give you an overall feel of the town.
very straightforward.
Right.
Yeah.
And as Yuki said, we just picked these 2 towns. They're next to each other.
Yeah.
It's a nice juxtaposition to show. But if you go to the website, there's another 50 towns to choose from.
So looking at the old data helps a lot. Like if my buyers say, Yuki, what should I do? There are only 2 homes available on the market and we couldn't get the house we want. I said, just wait. See, last year, statistically, it shows that there are 90 more homes coming in 3 months.
Right.
So just be patient.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where we are. So you figured out what your needs and wants are.
Yep.
You've decided you want a fixer-upper
Yeah,
or a move-in ready.
Yeah.
You've kind of ready to go at this point, and so okay, now let's write the offer. So
Yep.
let's kind of get serious, if you like. And what we wanted to do here is give you a quick overview. There's a lot to this. We'll explore some of these a little bit more too, these sections.
This is the fun part.
Give you a quick overview of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yep.
There's a lot of work to do up front, though.
Of course.
This is relatively straightforward to write the offer. A lot of the work is done up front.
Right.
But here's the offer process in a couple of slides. Relatively straightforward.
Yep. So assume your offer is
Accepted.
Excuse me.
Of course it's accepted.
Yeah.
Of
yes,
course it's
yes,
accepted.
Yes. Offer accepted. Yes. So typically we have the initial deposit is $1,000, but in the competitive market nowadays, depends house value. I tried $5,000 and also $10,000 today.
You might
for the
increase
offer.
that.
Yeah. So and also inspection contingency usually is 5 to 10 days later after offer accepted. Then you have the home inspector ranging from $500 to $1,000, depends the house size, the home size. And also if you have any problem with your inspection, you can negotiate or exit agreement and get your deposit back. So this is when you have inspection contingency.
And we'll talk more about the inspection in a minute.
Yeah,
The
and
details
also
of it.
the purchase and sale agreement, as known as PNS, usually happens 1 to 3 days later after everybody's agreed with the inspection contingencies, and a deposit usually is 5% minus the initial deposit. And attorney works for both lenders and the buyers. We tend to recommend try one attorney works for both, so which is less people involved and much productive and efficient.
And cheaper.
Yeah, and cheaper too, yes.
Right.
And then we will recommend a couple attorneys locally that is very confident and responsive. So just help you out down the road.
Right.
Be less stressful. It's just everything we don't want is. Last thing one is stressful.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Stressful enough as it is.
Yeah.
One thing that it's worth pointing out, Yuki mentioned it, but I kind of reiterate it here. At purchase and sale, you need 5% of the purchase price. And we've had this situation, I'm sure you have as well, Yuki,
Yeah.
where I had it last year, where we were ready to write the offer. And as I explained this process and said, so by the way, you will need 5% of whatever that number is, 50,000 per million, available at purchase and sale, which is in a few days' time. And I've had the situation where the money wasn't available, perhaps wasn't in the country.
Wow.
And I know one of the other agents found that getting the money over here to the US was more difficult than they thought. So if you haven't got that 5%, our recommendation is get that money over before you get serious, as it were.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
even though 5 days for the inspection plus another 3 days, that seems like a long time. What I found is that it can often be compressed, and all of a sudden you are kind of in that situation where I can't get the money for another 2 weeks, and this thing happens in way less than 2 weeks.
Yes. So that's back to the talking about the engaged buyer agent. Have a buyer agent that, so you have a box you have to tick. We have a checklist. We have to tick all the boxes too. Like before you submit offer, getting serious. Do you have a pre-approval letter, and also do you have 5% ready? If we waive the inspection contingency within 3 days. Do you have 5% ready?
Right.
So stuff like that. You have to get those things checked beforehand.
And make that decision up front, as it were. So we always like to reiterate that, because 5% is a considerable amount of money.
Yep.
For homes that could easily be $6, $7, $8 million. So.
Yep.
So now we're at purchase and sale, and guess what? Money.
Okay. Yes.
Now the money side.
Yes. So we sign the PNS agreement. Then we start apply the mortgage. So we submit mortgage, usually it's a day after PNS to the lender, and the mortgage contingency date is usually 4 weeks later. What it does is if the bank approves you, then you can buy the home.
Yep.
Then if you don't get the financing approved, then which you usually get a physical denial letter from the bank, then you can walk out with full deposit back. The only thing you spend is inspection and bank appraisal.
Right.
Yeah. But if you get financing approved and you don't want the home, there's no way you can back out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a non-refundable deposit in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
If you follow the rules.
Yes.
And that's the key. Just as Yuki said, you get your money back at mortgage contingency if, and that's the if the bank denies you the financing.
Yep. Yep. So, and also clothing usually happens 14 days after, which in the competitive market much sooner.
Could be sooner.
It could be for the clothing. The house I closed yesterday, it's happened on the same day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We tried to get 3 days work done in 1 day.
Okay.
But it turned out I closed the next day because it's just too much.
Right.
But in the normal practice in the competitive market nowadays, it's usually a week after or 10 days after.
Yep.
And so you will pay the remaining balance of the purchase price and also the clothing cost.
And at that point, they hand you the keys.
Correct.
There we go. So that's the offer process. Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
We say that because we do it, 5 times a week, as it were. But it's a well understood process. I mean, this is exactly the same for all residential real estate.
Yep.
Just make sure that as you're working with your buyer's agent, you kind of know this process and know when that money is due, and keep the process moving. That's the kind of key.
Yep.
The inspection is a kind of key point in this, I think, because it's a point at which many transactions fall through. As I describe it to buyers, we have two people. The seller thinks their house is perfect. The buyer wants a perfect house, and neither of those are true.
Yep. There's no perfect home.
There isn't. Right? There's always issues.
Even new constructions. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a rather fraught time, but what we wanted to do is give you a quick example of what our inspection strategies are to try and kind of get around this, what is a very stressful time for both buyers and sellers as they kind of starting off on this the buying process, if you like.
Yeah, so the first one is very typical, which is traditional approach. I haven't practiced this for
a while. It's competitive.
Since COVID started, it's competitive market. So basically, the seller will absorb the risk. If anything comes back after inspection, the seller has to fix it. Yep. And also, if seller doesn't agree with the buyer, seller will have will bring the home back on market, which is most likely you pass the golden first weekend.
You have.
Then so this will disadvantage us. The seller.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah,
that's why the seller takes the risk in this approach.
Yeah, and the second one is wave inspection, which is more popular nowadays. It's risky for the buyer, but seller loves it, right? Why not? So the buyer usually absorbs the risk. They go straight to the PNS. So for my buyers, I usually recommend. Sure, we can waive the inspection when we submit offer, but we actually do need inspection before offer submitted. So which we call pre-offer inspection consultation, or you can do a full inspection if the seller agent allows. So it's in the, again, low inventory, highly desirable home, you don't get 1 hour luxury, 1 hour to fully inspect, but at the minimum, you do a consultation with reliable inspector.
Right.
So this, and also there another inspection. We put the aggregate amount to eliminate your risk. So, which is next one, right? So.
Right. So what you do there is you kind of find some minimum amount. We put $10,000 here on the slide, and what that says is the buyer will cover the first $10,000.
Yeah.
Anything over that, then it's negotiable.
So basically, excuse me, sharing the risk with seller. Yeah. So I genuinely want to buy your home. It's just I'm willing to put this much amount. I think will nothing goes wrong, then I will absorb the repairs. So that's basically what it says. And
another huge value of the buyer's agent here. Which strategy do you use? Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the market. Depends on the house. Depends perhaps on the town. There's a lot that it depends upon.
Yep.
And this is where you rely on your buyer agent to give you that advice. In this house, it's not competitive. Do a traditional inspection. It's very competitive. Let's organize that pre-inspection so that we can think about waiving the inspection.
Yeah, and also as a seller agent, we recommend when we bring the house on the market, we have offer deadlines. So usually we bring the house on the market on Thursday, the deadline is Tuesday, offer due. So the buyer agent will have time to do homework. So at the buyer agent, when I see the house does have a deadline, have enough time for us to do the inspection, I will definitely recommend the pre-offer inspection consultation or full inspection.
Yep.
But if there's no deadline, that's just the language says the seller deserves the right to accept the offer prior to deadline, then I will go straight to the offer and just get an offer in as quick as possible, but with a threshold of maybe $10,000, $5,000 there to inspect, to protect my buyer.
Yep. So the strategy you use depends very much on the circumstances you're in.
That's right.
And that's what you need to rely on the buyer's agent to give you that recommendation based on their experience and knowledge of the market. So that's the inspections. A lot to talk about there. We're just giving you a quick overview there. Money. We talk a lot about money because it takes money to buy a house, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. So the loan to the value ratio is how much are you borrowing compared to the sale price of the home. So typically for a buyer to buy their home is 80% down payment. 20% down payment and 80% financing. Yep. So when you submit offer, the higher the down payment, the stronger the offer is, right?
The less risk.
Yeah. Then the higher down payment, the less risk to the bank. Correct.
And therefore to the seller at the end of the day.
Yeah. Especially when you have a home doesn't appraise to that offer price, then if you have higher down payment, the chance of the bank tweak the percentage and get loan still approved is much higher. Yep. And so again, the home value determined by appraisal is not by the sale price. So you offer as high as you want, but you probably don't approve and you can't borrow that much amount. Yeah. So appraisal based on the home values comes in the recently sold homes nearby, and also if the appraisal came back lower, then you may need to increase your down payment or borrow more money.
Just to clarify, because it's not written there, the banks lend not against the sale price.
Yep.
They lend against the appraised value.
Correct.
So imagine a home. You offered a home for $800,000. You got accepted offer at $800,000. The bank says, that's great, thank you very much, but I'm going to get an appraisal, and potentially that appraisal comes in at 770, for example, and any discrepancy with that has to be negotiated or met by the buyer. So the banks lend based on the appraised value. That's why it's so important, not the offer value, and that's back like you were saying at the beginning, Yuki. Having a little bit of a cushion is important, not pushing yourself to the very highest.
Yes. You want to stretch, but not that much.
Right.
Yes.
You want to stretch, but not that much. I like that. That's one way. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of key with financing.
And your income and assets.
Well, all of that you need to think about, because one thing we do say, don't go and buy anything once you've got an accepted offer, because it will change your credit score.
Most likely towards clothing, the bank will revalue your financial background.
Right.
And just don't buy a new car yet.
Right, don't buy a new car yet. So don't changing income, changing jobs. Don't go buying nice cars. do it after closing. You do whatever you want after closing, but don't
Right.
do it before,
Right.
because don't do anything that would upset your credit score. Because it's just as you said, the bank reserves the right and potentially will go and get another copy of your credit score just before closing. And the
Right.
last thing they want to see that you've just taken out, done a down payment on a new car. Do that after
Yeah.
closing.
Sorry.
Do that after closing.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Closing costs.
Okay.
Big question that people ask a lot is, how high? What's included? It's difficult to give a number at this point, but what's included?
Yeah, they often to get the CD is called closing disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have a different category of the amount you pay, and so basically based on the location and sorry, I'm kind of missing calculator online.
Yeah, there are a number of closing cost calculators. I was asked this question the other day.
Oh yeah, got it.
I have to say, I did this the other day because I was asked this question. I didn't find them very accurate, and I've heard from lenders, and talking to lenders too, that the right place to get a sense of what that number is from the lender.
Right.
But having said that, it's a question that everybody asks. Or buyers ask, what's included? What is the potential for that for those closing costs? You will get told that by the lender. The calculators are okay, and they'll give you an order of magnitude, I think, at best.
You usually get two CDs. The first one is like a draft.
Truth in lending statement, am I right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Or
some
preliminary
some
ones
name like that.
They
Yes.
will have like the concept of what's included in the clothing,
Right.
but
Yep.
the amount is not as accurate.
Yep.
So
Yep.
then when towards the clothing day, you will get a day or two before, then you'll get the final amount for the
Yep.
clothing. Yeah.
But kind of things that are included.
Yeah, it's a lender's fee, the PMI if you borrow less than 80%, something like that. Right?
Over 80%.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Over 80%.
Over 80%, and or the appraisals and the surveys, and also homeowner insurance and title insurance. Usually have two title insurance for the owner title insurance and the lender title insurance, and also MA stamp tax and gas oil left in the tank for heating, for instance, and also seller adjustment to the taxes and condo fees. If you buy the landlord property, you have the escrow account included in that too.
Right, so all of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of components, and that's why it's hard to give an accurate number.
Yeah.
Lenders, those calculators, in truth, I found them okay, no more than that really.
Yeah.
But certainly the lender is a great resource for what that will be. They'll have a good, if you say I'm buying a house for 700,000, they'll have a good estimate, a good handle to give you that ballpark number in terms of what those closing costs are.
Yeah.
You need an attorney in Massachusetts.
Yeah, not everybody like attorneys, but it's
Right.
required.
It's required, unfortunately,
Yes, I'm sorry,
yes.
unfortunately, and I'll tell you why it's so important. Because especially when you buy fixed-upper homes, it looks beautiful outside, like moving ready. All the cosmetic looks great, but if it has not closed permits from town website, attorney will pull up, says, no, I'm sorry, you have to close those permits before closing, which helps you tremendously.
Yep.
Yeah, and also it happens to me before that. We try to buy a home. It takes exactly 365 days to close because
365.
the
That's got to
garage-
be a record you give.
Yeah, it is. It's the longest one. So it end up into a probate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So
yep.
basically, the garage is on different address and the house is on another address. And
Okay.
also the garage is owned by, it's hand down by the seller's parent who passed away that has title problems.
Okay.
And the seller passed away in nursing home during transactions.
Right.
So it ended up went to probate court and over again, maybe 3 times. And also, it just so many title searches. Yeah. So the attorney helped big time. Yeah.
Right.
So things like this. And also, the attorney represents both bank and buyer. Again, recommend use one attorney for all
Yeah,
because
lower the
it's more
cost.
efficient and money friendly. Yeah,
Yeah.
cost friendly. So, recommend a real estate attorney. Yes. Again, its transaction will be much smoother. And also, the real estate attorney they practice all the time, so they're familiar with our forms and the regional town regulations and local zoning insurance. So again, the open permit thing, the local attorney
Yep.
can pick up right away. They know what to look for right
Yep.
away. And yeah, And also advice on title holding of the home, the tenants in common, tenants in, and
all of that. So it's
all of that sort of legal advice.
The attorney will come in.
Yeah.
And key to have a real estate attorney. It really is key.
Yeah. So as with lenders, we have a list of recommended attorneys that actively working with us and are very reputational and very confident and responsive.
Yep. They're responsive. One of the key complaints we have about, we work with attorneys or the real estate attorneys, is they're not as responsive. And so, you know, the ones that we recommend, we've worked with a lot and we find them very responsive. You know, things happen in a timely fashion and we get told things are happening. That's key. So you do need an attorney. We would highly recommend a real estate attorney. Please use a real estate attorney.
Yes.
It will make it go much smoother. That's for sure. A little bit about COVID, kind of a work in progress, I guess, this one. We're not entirely sure how the rest of the year will play out. But I think it's fair to say, you know, with restrictive showings, it's not business as usual.
Yep. Believe it or not, I'm busier. So,
really? Okay.
After COVID started, I'll always wear my mask, sanitize all the time, wear booties if possible, you know, if necessary. So yes, during COVID, the showing is definitely restricted. So before I go to a place, I definitely do as much research online as possible. So like open houses, I think it's restricted at a certain point. They started coming back up. Then so some homes do not have open houses. That then I schedule private showing with my buyer. So for those have open houses, it's really challenging because right now it's still winter. So I'm standing outside for half an hour just wait for a showing. And even I went inside, it was multiple showing at multiple group in the same house. And the listing agent will guide us, says, you go the basement, you go upstairs, and you go. So basically, it's so much distractions at open house. You're not focusing on the home. You have to make sure you keep a distant way from other buyers. And you only stay certain time. You can only just glance through. It's stressful.
It's hard. It's really hard. Which is why we much prefer private showings. It's by far the best way to do it. Because I mean, the example you just gave, you're walking through a home and you're worried about where the other people are. You're not focused on the home. You're just distracted.
Very distracted.
Right.
So that's why the private showing is the key. It's first you get this time slot reserved for you and for you only, for you and your buyers only. So you can just take your time to go inside, look around, discuss as needed, and stop if you want. Just to look things, open cabinets, open basement, you know, just go basement, open different utility rooms to check around. And it's just much preferred, much more.
We would much prefer that.
And also the digital medias, yes. So again, I do as much homework with my buyers. Zoom meeting, go through homes if possible. Sometimes they get excited. I will tell them what not to, you know. They don't like it, but they will thank me later.
That's right. They'll thank you later.
So then we'll save them a trip if it's close to highway or if it's. I think the master bedroom is on the first floor.
Issues with the floor plan.
Issue with the floor plan and
you name it.
So we will do as much digital research as possible, and also most homes are not allowed overlapping private showings and only one schedule per time slot.
Makes it much easier.
Now
you can focus on the home.
So you just can focus, no distraction. You can just focus to this home and discuss with your buyers. And with all the homework you've done up front. And financing. So the appraisals are sometimes drive-by. I've foreclosing this month that 2 appraised lower. It's because they're drive-bys. And the one appraiser, so it happens. It happens a lot nowadays. But and also the loan process is slower because the interest rate is still really good. And the refi is keep the lender busy. So that's why your loan processing could be slower. We
certainly saw that last year as everybody transitioned to working from home and everybody started to buy homes and everybody decided to refi. The situation arose that the banks simply didn't have the processing in place in order to manage that working from home and the sheer volume. So we saw more delayed closings in 2020 than we've seen in recent history, really. there were a lot of them, and you're still seeing some of it today with that appraisal,
Yep.
with them driving by as opposed to going in.
Yep. And again, back to the manage the offer from the buyer agent. It's we keep things on track to
Right.
make sure you get things done. If it's delayed, we extend the contingencies to protect you.
Right. And make sure the whole trick with delays is making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
Nobody wants to be surprised. Everybody understands the situation we're in, but no surprises, so everybody knows exactly where they are.
Yep.
So, kind of summarizing, virtual
Okay.
consultations.
Yep.
Definitely.
Which I prefer, being a mother of two that remote school all the time.
Right.
I've done more transactions than a year before. How can I make it? It's virtual buying
Right.
as much as I could.
Yep.
So yeah, I will do the virtual consultation as much as I could. I have clients overseas. I have clients out of state. So we usually get on Zoom and just to show them what I see, to go through the values or their needs and must. And also the digital marketing from the listing. So if you see listing has 3D virtual tour, go check it out. They will give you an idea where is what, and is that good enough for you? And also, oftentimes you can see the lightings that is this home. You can do the photo editing later, but you can't edit a shadow. That's what I say. That if the home is bright enough, you'll see the shadow somewhere. The lighting.
Yep.
So you can see from the 3D tour too, and the electronic signatures. So I think it's until the closing time, the buyer need to be physically show up to sign,
Yep.
and upon that, everything can done online and electronically.
Yep.
Virtual hands-off inspection. Yes, some inspectors are trying not to. They have concerns, so they will do a virtual inspection. And the buying dashboard, that's something unique about us, is we do have our own app, believe it or not. Then we can have the dashboard like tracking the timelines for buyers and sellers. You can see all the major timelines happening on the dashboard live, right? We update all the time, so that's good. And also showing restrictions. This one is...
That's what I was saying before about you're only going to get maybe 15 minutes in a home, and
Right.
be prepared for that.
Oh,
it is a
that's
little
right.
bit different.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might get, normally you could have gone to an open house and wandered around for half an hour.
Right.
Now it's a 15-minute slot,
Back to
10
back.
till 10:15.
Yeah.
Back to back in many cases.
I've heard our listings is the earliest 7 a.m. and the latest
Right.
8 p.m.
Yep.
So it's really hard. And also e-recording at the registry. So basically you closing the morning and maybe an hour or two later, it's on record because it's e-recording. You don't have somebody running around to do that.
Running paperwork back to Cambridge or wherever. Still register that.
Yeah.
So all of this was new 12 months ago. Today it's well understood.
Yep.
We've been through this a lot over the last 12 months. And so where we were kind of finding our way 12 months ago, now this works really, really well. So that kind of wraps it up. And finally, I'm going to let Yuki kind of outline what our commitment, Yuki's commitment to you as a potential buyer is. What is our role in this whole process? Oh,
actually, educate you on the local real estate market. I happen to learn all the time with my buyers, so we're kind of learning each other. I will educate you what I know, and also I'm learning from you too.
Right, goes both ways, right? Yep.
Yep. Okay, and also I will guide you through the financing options. So basically, we can refer you some good, reliable lenders that they can go through because they're experienced, and they can go through a couple options with you. For instance, this afternoon I have to remove appraisal contingency, but the lender will tell you we have Plan B to protect you. Yep. So go ahead. Yeah. So, and also help find the great home that fits your needs. Definitely, if I serve for buyer, I serve for buyer only. I serve for seller, I serve for seller only.
Yep.
Then that I'm able to, find the great home that fits your needs. And also arrange showings, especially in this hard time, that you have to not only have one showing, you probably need the pre-offer consultation, second showings. I will try to make that happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And also evaluate property. We've done a lot of. Again, we're a data-driven company. We've done a lot of CMA, which is comparative market analysis. We'll tell you if you offer too ridiculous high or too low. We just want to have you have the right offer price and got offer accepted.
Yep.
Yep. And the strategize, offer, and negotiate on your behalf. That's for sure. So it's again, it's not only accepted on the best price, also the best terms and conditions. So we will do as best as we know. And again, I talk with every single seller agent on every single offer I submitted. Try to understand what their needs. Sometimes it's not only the price.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
when do they want to close?
Yep.
All of those things.
For
Yep.
instance, this afternoon offer accept, they want to close after 60 days because they want to install the septic tank.
Yep.
So something like that. So
Yep.
every cell has unique stories. Yep. And advise you through inspections. Yes. So we will go through every single inspection with my buyer. So advise you.
Yep.
That's a long way. Coordinate activities through clothing. So once your offer accepted, my buyer funny asked me, are you done, Yuki? Are you still with us? Once the attorney jumps in, you still with us? I said, yeah, I'm still here. Of course, I have a lot of things to check and make sure to keep things on track until clothing. I'm not going anywhere. Invite me to open housewarming later. Yeah.
Right.
So yes. So again, I've done above all with integrity and ethical behaviors and educating, exchange knowledge with buyers. And it's not only selling. It's not a single transaction. It's a lifelong relationship.
Very much so. That's what we aim to do, and all of us on the team aim to do that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Yuki. That was great. So any questions about anything we've talked about here, feel free to reach out to Yuki. She can talk you through anything we've talked about in a lot more detail than we've been able to do this evening. So hopefully you enjoyed it. So I'm going to say thank you for watching and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Bye.
You. Bye.